Welcome to today's episode on the Gospel Grit podcast. I want to speak with urgency because the times demand it. Families are fractured, churches are struggling, and communities are searching for some kind of stability. And at the heart of it all is this: we need godly men. The world doesn't need perfect men, the world doesn't need strong men in the world sense, but men who love Christ, who leads with humility, and men who stand firm in truth. I want us to walk together of why they are essential in the home, why they are essential in the church, and why they are essential in the community. So let's start where life begins, and that's the home. Ephesians 6:4 says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord." See, the home is the first seminary. The home is the first church. It's the first classroom. And fathers are called to be shepherds to their home. They are not called to be spectators. They are not called to just sit on the sideline and let the mother do all of the Christian teaching things. I want you to picture this. Picture a boy that grows up without a father, who is physically present, but he's spiritually absent. And this father, he provides food and he provides shelter, but he never prays with his children. He never takes the time to open the Bible, and he never speaks of Christ in any way. Now, that boy grows up thinking that faith is something his mother does, not men. And years later, he struggles to lead his own family because he never saw it modeled in his family growing up. Now, contrast that with another father. Every night, he gathers his children, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to read a psalm and pray. His kids may roll their eyes at time, but decades later, those prayers echo in their hearts. I know a man whose grown children still talk about how their dad's nightly prayers shaped their faith. They don't remember every word, but they remember his consistency and love. To the men out there listening, your children will remember your prayers more than they will remember your paycheck. They will remember your presence in their life, showing them the Christ-like character that they are to have when they grow up and be Christians themselves. They will remember your presence more than they will remember any of your possessions. Godly men in the home set the spiritual temperature of the household. Now, that's godly men in the home. Let's look at something else that is very important, and that's godly men in the church. You see a lot more women picking up the reins and carrying the leading where it needs to be carried because there's not a lot of godly men in the church. First Timothy 3 lays out the character of elders and deacons. They are to have self-control, they are to be hospitable. And Titus 2 calls older men to be dignified, to be steadfast in faith. See, churches rise or fall on the faithfulness of men who lead and serve. I once visited a church where the men were disengaged. The women carried the weight of teaching, serving, and praying. And the men showed up on Sunday, but they were silent. And there weren't many men in that church. The church was weak. It was lacking direction. It was lacking courage because of the lack of godly men in the church. Then I visited another church where men would pray out loud, where they taught classes, where they mentored younger believers, and they served with joy in their heart. And the difference was night and day. The second church was vibrant, it was unified, and it was a strong, healthy church. Think of an older man in a church who takes a younger believer under his wing. And this older man, he doesn't just teach doctrine, he models faith in everyday life. He invites the young man to his home, shows him how to love his wife, shows him how to love his children if he has any. Shows this young man how to work with integrity, how to pray when discouraged. That kind of discipleship multiplies faith across generations. And men, please don't just fill a pew, fill a life. Be involved. Find someone younger in the faith and invest in them. Godly men in the church anchor the body in truth and guard it against compromise. Now that's godly men in the church. Now let's move on to what else the third thing that I mentioned, godly men in the community. Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. I believe communities are shaped by the character of their men. I think of a businessman who once faced a choice. He could cut corners to make more profit or honor Christ by being honest. He chose integrity even though it cost him financially. Over time, his reputation grew and people trusted him. His witness opened doors for gospel conversations. This was a man who was Christ centered, a man who ran with integrity. Integrity filled his heart. Or picture a coach who prays with his team before games, who teaches boys not just how to win, but how to be men of character. And years later, those players remember his influence more than they remember the scores that they put up on the scoreboard. Or imagine a neighbor who consistently helps others, mowing a widow's lawn, checking in on the sick, just being reliable. And people begin to say, if you need help, go to him. His quiet faithfulness becomes a testimony of Christ's love. So, again, to the men, your witness in a community may be the only Bible some people will ever read. And we have heard that over and over and over again, but it is true in the most truest form that it could be. Your witness in a community may be the only Bible that some people ever read. Do you remember Joshua, how he stood before Israel and declared, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord? See, Joshua didn't wait for someone else to lead. He declared his commitment. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's the kind of resolve we need today, men. The world doesn't need flawless men. You know what the world needs? The world needs repentant men who cling to Christ. Godly masculinity is not about bravado. Godly masculinity, it's about brokenness before God and boldness in Christ. That's what godly masculinity is about. So here's the call, men. Will you rise? Will you rise and will you serve? Will you serve your home? Will you serve your church? And will you serve your community? Because they are all waiting to be served. So let's recap. Homes need shepherds. Churches need leaders. Communities need men of integrity. And godly men are not optional. Godly men are essential. I pray to the Lord to raise up men who will stand in the gap. I pray to the Lord to raise up men who will love like Christ and who will lead with humility. And I pray that if you, a man, a godly man, I pray this for you. Thanks for joining me today on this episode of the Gospel Grit podcast. Keep pressing into the word, keep leading with love, and keep standing firm in the faith. Blessings.